Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Kyle Powell. I'm the Associate Minister at First United Methodist Church in Irving, and I am so glad that you have joined us to figure out how to get your church up and streaming. Hopefully, this is going to answer some questions that you might have about the particulars of what it takes to get your church online, or maybe even just to up the quality a little bit. So I'm going to put a whole bunch of timestamps right here for you to look at and to see kind of what interests you specifically, or you can watch all the way through, and we're going to touch on a whole bunch of these things to kind of get you a little bit more information so you can go out this week and get ready for worship on Sunday. So for the meat and potatoes of this video, we're going to be talking about an operating system called OBS, and it's what I use to live stream from cameras at our church to the internet, specifically on Facebook Live or on YouTube, depending on what it is that we're doing. But before we jump into that, I wanted to kind of give you just a very simple option. If you're just trying to get online, you haven't really figured out how to up your Facebook live game yet, and you're just using a cell phone. We were on a Zoom call last week, and there were some important things that were thrown out, so I thought I would reiterate them here. First of all, you're going to want to get a cell phone mount and tripod. There's a variety of them. I'm going to link some down in the card below for you to look at. But this way, it just locks off your shot, makes it super steady and stable, and you don't have the waves of trying to hold a camera for the entire length of a service. So that's the first thing I would recommend doing if you don't do anything else. The next thing that I would recommend is coming up with some sort of way to up your audio game. Andrew Forrest, in his little speech last week, talked about having either a little mount that little mic that he mounts to his cell phone that he's talking to directly, or possibly a lavalier mic or a lav mic that he clips to his shirt that goes directly into the cell phone as well. And those are both really great options if you're just doing this from home or you're just micing yourself at your church. However, there is a third option, and this is if you are using just a cell phone in a church sanctuary or in a chapel or wherever it is on campus at your church that you are shooting, you can actually buy a Lightning, if you're using an Apple, or a micro USB for Android or other types of devices, a divider, a little device that you plug into the bottom, and you can actually put like a 3.5 millimeter jack into something that you would see for headphones, and you can run that off your board into your cell phone to record audio directly to your phone that's coming through the system. That's just going to up your audio game and allow you to transmit a balance board that you're already producing in your church and then sending it out, as opposed to trying to do it just over the house speakers. However, if you are going to use house speakers and you're not going to get the adapter to go into your phone specifically, what I would recommend, somebody else in the Zoom call last week recommended this, was taking your mic for your phone and miking one of the speakers somewhere in the house, whether that is a monitor, whether that is a house speaker somewhere, finding a way to calibrate your audio specifically to something that's being mixed by the board. Any of those steps above just using the audio input or the audio mic on your phone is going to raise the quality of your stream tremendously. So if you are moving up from just using your cell phone on Facebook Live and you're wanting to take it to the next step, you are probably using a bevy of cameras, or one or two cameras, or maybe just one like we are, and you're trying to figure out how to get your live video feed that you have on your camera onto your computer and then off onto Facebook Live. Well, for us personally, I'll tell you kind of what we're using. We are using my personal mirrorless Sony camera that I have for photography and videography on the side outside of church work. But you could use a video camera or another DSLR that has, this is important, a clean mini or micro out HDMI output. And what that simply means is it will show what is on the screen on the back or the side of your camera, and it will just send that information out onto your computer. So you have to have a camera that is able to do that, or else you're going to have all sorts of information from your camera underneath, and you don't want that. So what I would recommend doing is you can go to this website that I am putting right here at the bottom, and I'll put down in the card below. And it gives you a list of different cameras that work with this next product that you need to have to make this happen. and that is a video capture card. And now these are a dime a dozen. There are a bunch of them. They range right around $100 online. This is the one that we use. It's the Gato Video Capture 4K. It plugs into USB directly and takes an HDMI from the other side. So I plug the adapter into my camera, I plug that into this card, and then I plug the card into my computer, and it runs really smooth. It pulls right up. The software works like a champ, and it allows me to get great video quality that's even better than cell phones, straight from my camera onto my computer. All right, so we're back to me. I'm going to go through just really quickly a few things that might make your life a little bit easier while all of this is going on. So the first thing that I would recommend getting for the actual streaming when this is going on, churches all vary in their ability to produce good internet, right? Our sanctuary, it goes in and out constantly on Wi-Fi, and so for our hardwired computers or our desktops in the back in the sound booth, they're all hardwired. And so when we made the jump to trying to run this off of a laptop up near the stage so that we were able to do a couple different things that we were trying to do, one of the things that we really needed was to hardwire our laptop, and the one that we have didn't have a Ethernet cable, so we went and picked up one of these. Let's see if we can get this to focus really quick. It's pretty bright. But it's just a USB to Ethernet, that part, adapter. So you can plug an Ethernet cable into a USB port on any type of computer, which gives me much faster internet, but also just a steady connection, which is so important when you're broadcasting. You don't want it to be dropping in and out constantly. The second thing that I would recommend is if you're like me, your laptop doesn't have a ton of USB ports. So we went ahead and got one of these, which is a USB hub. This one has 7 ports on it and allows me to connect all the different things that I'm using on Sunday morning just to be going into one USB as opposed to trying to fit and pull things in and out throughout the service. It just all is in, all is done, all is ready to go all the time. It's great. Both of those items are relatively inexpensive, and I think the 7-port hub was pretty expensive, like on the scale. I think it was like $30 or $40. But they have smaller ones with only 3 or 4 ports, or even some with 2, which just give you exactly what you need. The nice thing about this one is it's actually powered, so it's not drawing power off of my computer. It's got its own power, which is really nice. The last thing that I want to talk about really quick has nothing to do with the video aspect, but actually has to do with the audio. This is the box. I'll show you that first. This is a Scarlett 2-in, 2-out USB audio interface. And let me grab the actual item really quick. As you can see here, this is really great. I'm going to put it in front of my face so it'll focus. Going the wrong way. But what this does is it actually takes an XLR, there we go, XLR input from the board. So if you are, again, in a church and you are wanting really clean and crisp audio, you can try running it to cameras and doing it that way. We did that 2 weekends ago in our first weekend doing it, and it sounded okay, but there was a lot of interference because I don't know all the technical terms. I'm not an audio engineer, but there was a lot of interference where we were getting buzzing and feedback that we wouldn't normally get. And so we went ahead and invested in this, and I think on Amazon right now, it's $130, and then you get hit with taxes and everything like that, which you can obviously take off if you are using a church card or whatever. But then you can also I think they're doing a mail-in rebate on this, and it's like $60 off. So it's actually pretty affordable. This one takes 2 inputs, so if you wanted to run 2 different inputs, you could. This weekend, we only did 1 input, and it sounded really great. A great thing about this too is you can balance on the board, and then you can adjust this input right here. You can adjust this to get the gain correct, going from the board into the computer and then out to the people. And it's nice because you can actually monitor what's coming in to this directly from this, so you get the best audio possible. So those are just some things that I would recommend picking up. Some things that are going to make your life a little bit easier. Again, I'm going to drop all these down in the links. And then I'm actually going to show you just how I set these up at the church, so you can kind of see what exactly it is how we're how exactly it is that we're using these. So this first video is a video of my camera. We're using this to film Doug right now, but that bottom cord is the HDMI out, and the top is the power cord, and that's something that I haven't mentioned. If you're using a camcorder or a photo camera that you're using as video camera, be sure that you are plugging it in to a power source to make sure that you don't run out of battery halfway or a third of the way through the service, and then you're out of luck because your camera is dead. So be sure to plug that in. That's super important. So this second clip is a video of my cam link. This is what we plug the HDMI into out of the camera. It goes directly into this little light up thing, the cam link. And then the cam link plugs into the USB hub, which then connects directly into my computer. This third one is the Ethernet being plugged into the other side of my computer via USB. And then this is the Focusrite audio input. So you can see there that this is before we had mixed in the morning, and it's already peaking on there. And so me and the audio engineer, we worked on that to make sure that we got it back down into green levels on the board coming out to this interface. And then I was able to fine tune it to make sure we were getting the highest quality audio out to our people on Facebook Live. So in reality, really for us to start, if we're going to be streaming with cameras from a DSLR or mirrorless camera system onto our computer, again, the two things that you're going to need is a camera that gives out a clean HDMI output, and then a video capture card of some time. Again, you can kind of do your own research, figure out what's going to work best for your church and your budget, and then you can go from there. So after we get those two things in place, the big thing that we have to do is start looking at our software. All right, so what we're going to do for this software is we are going to go to OBS, just search OBS, and it is going to come up with this open broadcast software. And you can either click onto this and kind of read more about it, or if you're ready to get it, you can just go straight to download. I run this all on, sorry, I just restarted my internet at the house. But if you go here, you can go straight into here. You can pick your operating system, Windows, Mac, or Linux if you use Linux. And then it shows you all the different downloaders you can use and install. So I've already installed this. It's just super simple. You just click through it, download it just like you would anything else, and then you are good to go. All right, so this is the third time I'm trying this, and it's giving me a little bit of trouble on the actual video capture of this so that I can show you step by step. But I'm going to kind of walk you through it and, to the best of my ability, show you how this would run if you were trying to do this on your own. So I'm going to switch over to the capture view of OBS itself so you can kind of look through this, and I can kind of point things out as we go. So, sorry that I'm flying off into the background there, but if you look to the left of these highlights right here, over on this side where the YouTube how-to is, these are your scenes. These are going to be the things that you set, kind of like in ProPresenter when you set up worship for each weekend, or you have like your building blocks, so to speak. So this is going to be like if I were to click over onto Sunday streaming, it would give us all of our things that we do on Sunday morning. So ProPresenter, camera, audio, all right there. But right here on the YouTube, you can see that I have a video capture device, which is the camera. I have window capture, which is actually capturing what's going on the screen here on OBS. I have my Sony, which is my camera. I have my mic, which is this thing right here. And so these are all the different things that you would be using to send things on a stream. So we're going to come back over here to OBS. And down here at the bottom, you see these plus and minuses and little cog, that's the settings. This is how you add and take away from things on this list. So imagine that there was none of these things up here. No Sony, no Siphon, no video, no window capture. And it was just a blank thing here. What you would need to do is click on the plus. And when you would, a display of different things that you can select from audio input capture all the way down to window capture will pop up. From there, you would hit, I'd imagine you're going to want to do either audio or video. You'd hit audio input capture. It'll come up with a audio input capture, just generic thing that you can change the name if you would like, maybe the source or the type of mic you want to use in particular, and you would just hit OK. And then it will say device default. You'll hit that. It'll drop down the options of mics for you to choose from, whether that's the built-in microphone on your computer, the actual microphone that you're going to be using, or even the cam link where the camera audio would be picking up from. But you'll want to pick the microphone or the input that you're going to want to be using. So if you're using the Scarlett, that'll be the thing that you're going to want to pick. Or if you have another way of getting your board on here, you would want to pick that as well. And then it would show up here on this list. Somewhere on here, it would show you, again, Yeti mic is what mine pops up as. And that is what you need. But let's see. I'm going to, I think it's this one right here. I want to get rid of this one because I don't need double audio. And so I would hit the minus sign and it should go away. Perfect. Okay. And you would do the same thing with your video. You would just hit the plus, add video capture, pick the device. It'll show up as the video capture card or as whatever your camera is called natively. And then so once you have those two things in place, you're going to be able to start looking at streaming. And so that is where we're going to look at how to actually get this stuff off of OBS onto Facebook Live. All right, so to go ahead and get us online, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go over to Facebook. And so luckily that's one of my favorites on Chrome. And so once you get here, we're going to go over to the See More tab on the left, click on Pages, or however you get to Pages on your Facebook. I'm an administrator on our church's page, so I'll just click there. And then down here underneath the Create Post, you'll see Create Live. And we're going to go ahead and click on that tab. And so what this does is this actually brings up our live producer, as you can see in the top left corner. And this shows us that there are a bunch of different options, stream setup, health, polls, questions. You can add those to your stream. But this is actually not how it's going to show up the first time you do this. Where it will show up more than likely is it'll say get started and then camera. I'm going to turn this one back on. And so what this does is it is actually wanting you to just stream straight through Facebook. It's going to want you just to hit go live down in the bottom left and then to start streaming. So you're going to click on this camera drop down here, and instead of doing camera, you're going to use stream keys. And so if you can look down at the bottom right, you'll see that it's waiting for a live video feed right now. And what you'll do is you'll go up to this little line right here where it says stream key, and you will copy this. And once you do, you will bounce back over to OBS. And again, I was having issues getting the OBS system to capture this. But let's see if it'll pop up. So we'll hit this. And let me see if this window will allow me. Does not look like it will. Okay, so when you go back over to OBS, I'll just pull up the window capture over here now. When you go back over to OBS, it is going to give you the option for a settings right here, in which case you will click settings. And I don't think this is going to show up. Nope, it's not going to show up. All right, so when you get into settings, you're going to go, there'll be general, stream, output, audio, video, hotkeys, and advanced. You're just going to click on stream. And then the third option, there's a custom, a server, and then a stream key. You can go ahead and hit custom and then put in the stream code that was on, or the server code that was on the Facebook Live site. Or you can just put default and it will automatically pair you to one. You're going to go to the stream key. You're going to paste onto that line your stream key from Facebook and then hit OK. And then once you do, you're going to go back over to Facebook. And down in the bottom right corner, it'll still be looking for it. But if you hit start streaming on OBS, it is going to start a feed on Facebook. So it says connecting to live video. And using OBS, it is actually streaming. You're not live yet, but you are streaming to your Facebook Live producer. Down on the bottom left corner, you'll see the little Go Live tab down there. And that is actually what you will hit to go live. Once you hit that, your video will go live and you will start streaming on your Facebook. But until you do that, you're not actually streaming. So that is how you use a stream key. Again, you copy this and post it in the settings underneath stream on OBS. And that's how you take your OBS software and start producing and making your videos go live. If all you wanted to do was get great video and great audio, you could use the Scarlett, you could use another USB type interface that plugs into your computer and your camera, and you would be good to go, be absolutely golden. This is just going to take up your production level to the next level, and that is by us using and integrating ProPresenter. Excuse me. Ugh. That is going to be by us utilizing ProPresenter through OBS. The last things we're going to talk about is how to integrate our ProPresenter into OBS so that you can have a professional looking stream that's presenting the things that you would on a normal Sunday morning onto your live feed on Facebook. So what we're going to do is, like we have, and we're going to go down into sources, and we're going to add a new one. I've already added it on here just for ease of access, but when you hit the little button, you're going to see near the bottom of this pop-up list a Siphon client. This is the third time I've done it, so it's Siphon client 3. And so when you do this, Siphon client will allow you to see what is on your ProPresenter. So that's going to go away for a second, and I'm going to click over to ProPresenter really quick. And actually, let me change this window so you can actually see what I'm doing over here. So when you click over onto ProPresenter, you're going to need to do a few things for us to actually be able to see what's going on over there. So let's see. So there's ProPresenter right there. All right. So when you're on ProPresenter, you're going to come over to your preferences, and the first thing you're going to want to do is go to display and click on this little button down here to enable Siphon. What this does is it allows for, like a siphon, when you're siphoning something, it allows for ProPresenter to allow access to another program to siphon off the information that's being displayed. So so now that we have Siphon activated, it will actually allow us to show on OBS whatever it is that we wanted to show on ProPresenter. So if we were to go back over just to ProPresenter, or to OBS, if we go back over there, I turned off the window capture, and now I'll just click on a slide on ProPresenter. And as you can see, the slide from this morning is popping up. We're seeing our welcome slide, Journey with Jesus, here on our display. But if we go back over to ProPresenter, what we can also do is hit Preferences again, and then we can go over to this Live Video tab in Preferences, and we can select a camera. And what this will allow us to do is, if we clear all here, we can actually bring up our video source in ProPresenter. And what this does is, if we click on a lower third slide where maybe our lyrics would be for a song, you'll see that you're not losing the video, but you're still gaining the lower third with the words as well. And this just allows us to utilize all of the things that we would on a Sunday morning. So for instance, if we clear the slides, if we go down, Doug this morning used a photo. And so you're able to use the photo, and then when you're done talking about this photo, you can clear that, and it'll go right back to whatever he was talking about. You can do this with verses. You can do this with whatever else you're wanting. And it allows us to click through and to put out a product just like we would on a normal Sunday morning. So we'll get rid of that, and we'll go back here, and that really just about does it. All right, so one last thing that I wanted to touch on, and this goes for really anything. In our Zoom call that we had last week, somebody mentioned that the most important thing, other than us being reminded that we are leading people in their relationships with God, we are helping them connect, we are trying to give them some sort of normalcy in this season that is all over the place. as far as just us not knowing, us not being able to do things that we normally do, getting thrown out of these normal routines. You all know what's going on. And so obviously outside of that, the most important thing when live streaming or broadcasting, whatever, is going to be audio. So coming up with ways to address audio first and foremost would be what I would recommend. If there is a way to make your Facebook live stream on your phone a higher caliber than what you're doing currently, that would be my first and foremost. If you're doing streaming via big cameras or a small camera or whatever, and you have the choice between upping your audio or upping your video, I would definitely suggest doing your audio, because if your video is cutting in and out, people can sit around and wait for that. But if your audio is cutting out and you sound like a robot or something that's being heard every third word, you're going to lose people and people are going to start leaving your stream. So definitely focus on your audio first. And then finally, the last thing that I want to mention is if you are doing video and you're starting to up your video game, making sure that the lighting in your sanctuary is good for your camera, right? So for my camera, I've got all the bells and whistles. I can adjust the ISO, the shutter speed, the aperture of the lenses and the cameras to make sure that everything is in focus, everything is sharp, everything is crystal clear. And then I can adjust things like color balance and making sure that everything looks really nice. However, if I didn't have that, I would want to make sure that the lighting in the sanctuary was as flattering as possible. And for an iPhone, it might be different than what you do normally on a Sunday, and more than likely, you would be needing lots and lots of light. Because these are amazing cameras. They are great. They do a lot of things really, really well. But dim lighting in a sanctuary does not compute for these things. Their sensors are so tiny, they need as much light as they can get. So if you're filming on one of these, I would recommend either keeping your sanctuary really well lit, maybe having all the lights up and letting your camera adjust to that, or investing in some different types of lights. I'll drop a few suggestions down in the bottom. Andrew Forrest, again, in our Zoom call last week, he mentioned just either like a ring light if you're just doing this from home, or he even had like a soft box and like a video light, which is great if you want to invest that type of money. I actually have, let me grab it really quick. So I actually had in my garage a Husky LED work light. And these actually work great as video lights because they're silent, because they're LED. They're not going to burn out a bulb, and they're continuous. These are very warm, so be aware of that. But even if you don't have a softbox and doing this from home and you have some sort of work light maybe outside, or you can pick them up from Home Depot or Lowe's pretty cheap. I think the smaller ones come in at like 15 or 20 bucks. I think this one was like 30 or 40. But you can like hang a sheet, not on it, but like a little bit in front of it to cut down some of the strength. Or even if you have like a room like this where I have white walls, you can actually bounce the light off of it and give yourself a nice soft light. Or if you're at home, you can sit in front of a window. I'm just in front of a big window here. I can even turn this around. We just moved into a new house and just a big window. So, yeah, use a window, use lighting that is going to be good for you. If you want some other recommendations, I'm not going to put them down on the card because that would just make it way too cluttered. But if you want recommendations on how to light in a home or in a studio or even in a, I don't know if they have sanctuary ones, I will go look and see if I can find lighting for us that is going to continue to be better. But those are the things that I would worry about the most. First, audio, then your streaming, how much information you're sending off, and then lastly, just continuing to up that video production by making sure you have great light. Well, thank you again for checking this out, spending some time with me this afternoon. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop me an email. My email is down below. It's kyle@fumcirving.org. I am, again, happy to answer any questions via email, or we can schedule a phone call, and I am happy to talk